This is Steve Bruce for the HR Daily Advisor. Today we have a question from Kelly in Arizona. Kelly says, I'm hearing about a flurry of wage and hour lawsuits. What should I be looking out for? Kelly, wage and hour lawsuits are proliferating because they're fairly easy to bring and because the multiplier effect of class action can mean that these suits offer substantial settlements, at least for the attorneys involved. For example, take a case where an employee hasn't been paid an overtime premium for 2 hours each week. Say it's a $15 an hour worker. That's $15 a week of overtime. No big deal, right? But multiply it by 2 years, 50 weeks a year. Now it's $1,500. Now multiply it by 100 fellow workers, that's $150,000. Double it for penalties, and the amount starts to add up. Another factor is that wage hour rules are complicated enough that most companies are probably in violation to some degree. An opposing attorney just has to find out where to look, and there's a case that's probably hard to defend. So what are the most common violations? Well, first there's off-the-clock work. In one typical scenario, a loyal employee, knowing that the employer is struggling, may offer to take work home. Don't worry about paying me. But you can't let that happen. If non-exempt employees work, you have to pay them, even if you told them not to work. You can discipline them, but you have to pay them. And then there's a more blatant violation. For example, a restaurant manager tells a waiter, clock out, and then set up for tomorrow. Or maybe there's a mechanic who's expected to come in early to do extensive setup to get ready for the day. That work probably needs to be paid. Another common problem crops up over interrupted lunch breaks. Lunchtime, if 30 minutes or longer, can be unpaid, but only if the person is entirely relieved of work duties. If the person has to answer the phone or perform other duties, that lunch is work time and has to be paid. This is a particular problem when the company uses a timekeeping system that automatically subtracts lunchtime. And then there's the third common challenge, misclassification. That is, calling someone exempt who should be non-exempt. For example, calling someone an exempt worker who's a store manager who actually works the cash register for 9 hours and then does some scheduling and inventory work. If you get caught doing that, the numbers really add up fast. Say the person is paid $25,000 a year on a salary basis and works 50 hours a week. Well, that's about 12 hours an hour for a 40-hour week. That means an extra 10 hours each week owed to the employee at the overtime rate of $18 an hour. Multiply that times 52 weeks for 2 years, that's $18,000. Doubled for penalties is $36,000. And if there are 2 managers a store, that's $72,000. And if you got 100 stores, now you're talking $7.2 million that you owe. Bottom line, it pays to regularly audit and monitor your wage and hour practices. Kelly, thanks for your question and best of luck in all your HR endeavors. This is Steve Bruce for the HR Daily Advisor.